Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for standing by for the first quarter 2022 earnings conference call for HUYA Inc. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's conference call is being recorded. I will now turn the call over to Miss Ha-Yu Lu, Company Investor Relations. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to HUYA's first quarter 2022 earnings conference call. The company's financial and operational results were issued earlier today and are posted online. You can also view the earnings press release by visiting the IR website at ir.huya.com. A replay of the call will be available on the IR website in a few hours. Participants on today's call will be Mr. Rongjie Dong, Chief Executive Officer of HUYA, and Ms. Ashley Wu, Vice President of Finance. Management will begin with prepared remarks, and the call will conclude with a Q&A session. Before we continue, please note that today's discussion will contain forward-looking statements made under the Safe Harbor provisions of the U.S. Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Forward-looking statements involve inherent risks and uncertainties. As such, the company's results may be materially different from the views expressed today. Further information regarding this and other risks and uncertainties is included in the company's prospectus and other public filings as filed with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The company does not assume any obligation to update any forward-looking statements except as required under applicable law. Please also know that HUYA's earnings press release and this conference call include discussions of unaudited GAAP financial information as well as unaudited non-GAAP financial measures. HUYA's press release contains a reconciliation of the unaudited non-GAAP measures to the unaudited most directly comparable GAAP measures. I will now turn the call over to our CEO, Mr. Rongjie Dong. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our conference call today. Despite macro challenges that continued to impose near-term pressure on us and the entire industry, we delivered healthy user growth and steady financial performance in the first quarter of 2022. Total net revenues were 2.46 billion RMB, and non-GAAP net income reached approximately 47 million RMB for the first quarter, in line with our expectations against the backdrop of the evolving market environment. First, let me give you some color on our user metrics. Our user base sustained its expansion trend, with HUYA Live's mobile MAUs increasing by 8.5% year-over-year to 81.9 million in the first quarter. The growth was mainly driven by the strong performance of esports tournaments this quarter, as well as our enhanced cooperation with game studios. Meanwhile, our user engagement level also improved as we remained diligent in our efforts to provide quality content and optimize user experience through product innovations. Specifically, in the first quarter, users' time spent on our platform recorded double-digit growth on both a year-over-year and a quarter-over-quarter basis. In addition, HUYA Live app's next month user retention rate remained stable at above 70%. Now I would like to provide more details about our cooperation with game studios and our recent advancements in product innovation. Our interactive feature, Gift Droppers, 直播间调宝, has emerged as a very popular way to connect game streaming viewers directly with their game players. By participating in this task type activity, users can claim virtual rewards from both game studios and our platform once they complete specific combinations of tasks, such as viewing game streaming for a certain period of time and sending certain bullet chats. We introduced the feature during a live broadcast of Peacekeeper Elite last year and have now added it to over 20 game titles such as Honor of Kings, LOL Wild Rift, Call of Duty Mobile, and Genshin Impact, as we continue to deepen our relationships with a variety of game studios. Excitingly, more than 10 million users on our platform engaged with this interactive feature during the first quarter. In addition to improving user interaction metrics on our platform, more game operation teams have noted that the feature encourages churned players to return to games, bolstering user reactivation rates. In another effort to expand our in-depth cooperation with game titles, we joined forces with Crossfire Mobile's game studio to design and launch an event membership during the tournament period of our self-produced HUYA CFM Championship龙腾 Cup, HUYA CFM 冠军龙腾杯, by connecting their CFM game ID with their HUYA account. Users secured a free membership, which allowed them to complete gameplay and tournament-related tasks to unlock an array of privileges on both the game operators and HUYA's platforms. This initiative helped increase HUYA's exposure within the gaming community and also promoted gamers' activity level. In addition, all Longteng Cup matches were live broadcasted on HUYA's platform and were also made available on the CFM in-game tournament streaming channel. Increasing these self-produced events' popularity and reflecting our continuous efforts to connect HUYA's live streaming content with the Tencent ecosystem. Building on this event's success, we will forge ahead with additional endeavors in this area going forward. We are also looking beyond the world of gaming to innovate more interactive live streaming features. For example, at our January annual gala event, HUYA Boom Night, we debated an extraordinary music movement, 非凡音动, an online real-time interactive musical gameplay feature designed to make the event's broadcast distinctive and captivating. This new feature leveraged our in-house developed audio and beat detection technologies to engross users in the musical experience with a fun, simple game, clicking bubbles on the screen along with the music's rhythm. Users were scored based on beat accuracy, allowing them to compete with other viewers while watching artists' live-streamed stage performance. Merging live musical performances and interactive activities, this new feature created a truly immersive viewing experience, bringing the unique feeling of live performance to users' fingertips and blurring the boundary between reality and virtuality. Before I conclude, I would like to provide some updates on our recent strategic initiatives in our overseas business. Given the rapidly changing business environment, both domestically and internationally, we have strategically implemented some adjustments and refinements with respect to Nemo TV's operations, concentrating our resources on future key geographic regions. While these adjustments could result in short-term contractions in overseas user expansion and revenue growth as we downsize our overseas presence in certain areas, we expect to improve the overall efficiency of our international business by directing resources to regional markets with greater potential for profitable business growth at a low cost. We believe this more focused approach will benefit our overseas operations in the long term. In summary, the persistent macroeconomic and regulatory headwinds, along with the impact on the ongoing COVID-19 resurgence in China, could still create some challenges as we move ahead. Nevertheless, we are confident in our strategy and will continue to focus on harnessing the strengths of our business fundamentals to further improve operational efficiency as we embrace the regulatory changes. We will continue to work closely with authorities and strictly comply with the government's guidelines and rules by leveraging our operational and technological expertise spanning 8 years in the game live streaming market. We also believe that the restriction will not impact the core needs of our users and that we are capable of continually innovating compliant products and features to offer users more choices and better experiences in the world of live broadcasting. As our high-quality content portfolio and technology and product advancements solidify our leadership in the game live streaming market, we will remain committed to serving our growing user base and creating more value for our broadcasters, business partners, and all other stakeholders. With that overview, I will now turn the call over to our VP of Financial, Ashley Wu, to share more details on our operating metrics and financial assessment. Ashley, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Dong, and hello, everyone. To expand on Mr. Dong's remarks, I will now provide some updates on our content enrichment and diversification initiatives. On the professional esports content front, we broadcasted around 80 third-party esports tournaments in the first quarter. This year, we are deliberately being more selective in tournament procurement to ensure high-quality content offerings and improve ROI matches. We were glad to see that during the first quarter, total viewership of licensed esports tournaments reached more than 700 million, exceeding the previous quarter's viewership, despite the fact that, due to seasonality, the first quarter of the year is typically not a strong period for esports events. In particular, CFPL spring season's viewership reached a record high this quarter, more than doubling compared to the 2021 spring season. LPL Spring, KPL Spring, LCK Spring, and ESL Pro League S15 were also top-performing tournaments during the period. Our comprehensive esports content continued to serve as a key driver of user traffic and through a superior experience for all of our users. In addition to licensed esports content, we broadcasted 26 self-organized esports tournaments and entertainment PGC shows during the first quarter, generating approximately 86 million total viewership. During the Chinese New Year holidays, we held our HUYA League Million event, which featured popular streamers from different categories as participants in several online games, offering our users engrossing content and an entertaining festival experience. The HUYA CFM Championship Long-Term Cup, which Mr. Dong mentioned earlier, and the HUYA Super League, a tournament for PC and solo games, were also well-liked HUYA branded esports events in the first quarter. Additionally, our commentary show for LPL, HUYA Game Watch Room, HUYA 观赛场, has become a major channel for game lovers to enjoy professional gameplay analysis during the LPL season. We strategically adjusted our investment in self-produced events this quarter because we had abundant offerings of licensed events during the period and encountered pandemic-related lockdowns in a few major cities, which imposed some delays on in-house variety show productions. Nevertheless, those events we broadcasted in the first quarter achieved satisfying results. Furthermore, we have been continuously improving our video production and viewing experience for users. On the product end, we are integrating video content with our newly added discussion forum in streaming channels. Within a specific game or tournament forum, users can upload videos of gameplay or tournament highlights to share, watch, and discuss with their peers, helping to create a dynamic content ecosystem on our platform. Encouragingly, in the first quarter, the number of videos uploaded on our platform grew by 12% quarter-over-quarter, and video viewership recorded nearly 50% sequential growth. Next, let me walk you through our Q1 financial results. Unless otherwise specified, the growth rates I will be reviewing are all on a year-over-year basis. Our total net revenues were RMB 2.46 billion for Q1, decreasing by 5.4% year-over-year. Live streaming revenues were RMB 2.15 billion for Q1, compared with nearly RMB 2.5 billion for the same period last year. The decline was mainly due to lower average spending per paying user on HUYA Live, as the macro softness continued to adversely affect paying users' sentiment. The number of paying users for HUYA Live was 5.9 million, relatively flat compared to the same period last year, and representing a net addition of 0.3 million compared to Q4 last year. We believe the increased user engagement level and time spent in Q1 contributed to the sequential increase in paying users. Advertising and other revenues increased by 47.2% year-over-year to RMB 313 million for Q1, primarily driven by the increase in content sub-licensing revenues. In this Q1, we were able to recognize more sub-licensing revenues according to the licensing event schedule. Cost of revenues increased by 1.9% to RMB 2.1 billion for Q1, primarily due to the increase in revenue sharing fees and content costs. Revenue sharing fees and content costs increased by 3.4% to RMB 1.8 billion for Q1, primarily due to the increase in spending on esports content and the increase in revenue sharing fees in relation to certain broadcaster incentive programs. Bandwidth costs decreased by 7.3% to RMB 168 million for Q1, primarily due to improved bandwidth cost management and continued technology enhancement efforts. Gross profit was RMB 334 million for Q1, compared with RMB 514 million for the same period of 2021, primarily due to lower revenues and increased cost of revenues, primarily driven by higher revenue sharing fees and content costs. Gross margin was 13.5% for Q1. Excluding share-based compensation expenses, non-GAAP gross profit was RMB 347 million, and non-GAAP gross margin was 14.1% for Q1. Research and development expenses decreased by 1.4% to RMB 196 million for Q1, primarily due to the decrease in share-based compensation expenses. Sales and marketing expenses increased by 0.3% to RMB 145 million for Q1. General and administrative expenses decreased by 3.9% to RMB 81 million for Q1, primarily due to the decrease in share-based compensation expenses. Other income was RMB 28 million for Q1, compared with RMB 77 million for the same period of 2021, primarily attributable to realized damages received in the first quarter of 2021 from a favorable outcome in a broadcaster-related lawsuit. As a result, operating loss was RMB 60 million for Q1, compared with operating income of RMB 162 million for the same period of 2021. Excluding share-based compensation expenses, non-GAAP operating loss was RMB 3 million, and non-GAAP operating margin was negative 0.1% for Q1. Interest and short-term investments income were RMB 59 million for Q1, compared with RMB 65 million for the same period of 2021, primarily due to decreased interest rates. Income tax expenses were RMB 9 million for Q1, compared with RMB 39 million for the same period of 2021, primarily due to lower taxable income. Net loss attributable to HUYA Inc. was RMB 3 million for Q1, compared with net income attributable to HUYA Inc. of RMB 186 million for the same period of 2021. Non-GAAP net income attributable to HUYA Inc., which excludes share-based compensation expenses and gain on fair value change of investments, net of income taxes, was RMB 47 million for Q1, compared with RMB 266 million for the same period of 2021. Non-GAAP net margin was 1.9% for Q1. Diluted net loss per ADS was RMB 0.01 for Q1. Non-GAAP diluted net income per ADS was RMB 0.19 for Q1. As of March 31, 2022, we had cash and cash equivalent, short-term deposits, and short-term investments of RMB 10.47 billion, compared with RMB 10.96 billion as of December 31, 2021, primarily due to the increase in investments and prepayments to content providers. With that, I would now like to open the call to your questions.
Thank you. If you do wish to ask a question, you will need to press star one on your telephone. To withdraw your question, please press the hash key. For the benefit of all participants on today's calls, if you do wish to ask a question to management in Chinese, please immediately repeat your question in English. Please stand by while we compile the Q&A roster. Your first question comes from the line of Thomas Chong from Jefferies. Please ask your question.
管理层晚上好，我这边有一个关于我们公司海外业务的问题，就想问一下我们公司海外业务调整背后的原因，以及说对公司的影响是怎么样子的。So I'll translate myself. So my question is about our overseas business. Just wondering, what will be the reason behind the adjustment, and what will be the impact on our business? Thanks.
好啊，我来回答一下。就是说整体是考虑了最近这个国内外的一些整个市场的一些环境的变化，我们最近对于这个 Nemo 的运营做一些调整。我们整体上来说，我们未来会这个将资源这个聚焦到一些这个重点的这个区域。 对，然后因为我们收缩了一些地方的一些业务，所以这些调整呢会在未来的一段时间内导致整体的海外用户和海外的收入规模有一定的收缩。对，当然它也会这个有一些一次性费用的一些调整。我们整体上是希望通过将资源导到，就是说我们整体认为就是对更有潜力的市场，能够提高国际业务的一个整体的效率。这个希望能够降低海外业务的一些亏损，然后用这个更低的成本，这个实现可持续的业务发展。对，我们整体上来说，我们还是这个希望或者是海外业务在未来能够找到更好的一个方向。
Given the rapidly changing business environment both domestically and internationally, we have strategically implemented some adjustment and refinements with respect to Nemo TV's operations, concentrating our resources on future key geographic regions. While these adjustments could result in short-term contractions in overseas user expansions and revenue growth as we downsize our overseas presence in certain areas, and might have some non-recurring expenses, but we expect to improve the overall efficiency of our international business by directing resources to regional markets with greater potential for profitable business growth at a lower cost. We believe that this more focused approach will benefit our overseas operations in the longer term.
Okay, let's have the next question.
Thank you. Your next question comes from Yuan Zhang from China Renaissance. Please ask your question.
晚上好，管理层，谢谢接受我的提问。我这边有一个关于咱们那个荣耀端的问题，因为4月以来我们看到那个游戏版号也重启，然后同时我们也看到一些部分城市因为疫情导致的一些风控措施，就想问一下这两个对我们流量侧的一个影响分别是怎么样的？So thank you management for taking my question. So I have a quick question on the traffic side. So given the game license resumption in April and also the COVID led to some cities back to lockdown, so what are their impact on our traffic side? Thank you.
好啊，我来回答一下。这个在游戏版号方面，这个长期来看，这个版号的恢复对整个游戏行业肯定是有积极这个帮助的。然后虎牙作为游戏行业的这个一环，整体上来说肯定是利好我们直播内容的一些丰富度。同时因为虎牙这个具有最好的这个新游的这个运营的能力，对在用户这个流量获取上面这个更有优势，所以整体上来说这个对于虎牙的这个用户增长肯定是有帮助的。对，然后另外游戏版号的恢复逻辑上来说也能够提升游戏厂商投放广告的一些需求，对，这个对于我们平台上的广告的业务这个肯定也是正面的。然后短期来看对业务的这个影响主要还是要看这个近期这个有没有适合直播的新游戏，对，这个是最重要的，就我们当然在持续的这个关注和期待中。对，然后这个因为这个版号恢复其实是在这个4月份，所以其实对我们这个季度的这个帮助不是特别大。
Thank you for your question. For the longer term, the resumption of licensing of games is positive development for the gaming industry. As a downstream player of the game industry, HUYA, we believe that this will be helping us to enrich our content for live streaming. Also at the same time, HUYA has the best operating capacity in terms of new games, so we stand in a more advantageous position when gaining traffic from those new games, and it would be positive for our long-term user expansion. In addition, the resumption of licensing games will be motivating the advertisers on the games, which is a positive on our advertisement business and the platform. In the short term, I think people will be looking more at the business side, whether or not the new games are being released are suitable for live streaming and whether or not the new games are well received in the users. and we are also keeping an eye on the pulse of the market. And given the fact that the resumption of licensing games only began in April, the impact of such on our business, and especially advertisement business, is pretty much limited for now.
对，在疫情的这个方面，从流量上来看的话，我们能看到就是确实对我们的整体的这个流量是有增长的。但是呢，因为这个疫情常态化发展，相比去年年初啊，这个对这个平台流量的增量的影响相对比较有限。从收入维度来看，疫情对于用户的这个消费行为以及广告商的投放对的需求确实产生了一些压力，所以预计对于这个收入在短期内会造成一定的影响。所以我们也在密切的这个关注疫情对业务的影响。我们同时也会做好这个我们居家隔离的员工做好保障的工作。
As for the impact of COVID in terms of the traffic, because some cities they implemented this lockdown measures or stay-at-home measures, well, there are some positive impact for our traffic as well as game live streaming. But because this policies are somehow normalizing, so compared with the beginning of 2020, the positive impact on our traffic is relatively smaller versus that time, in 2020. In terms of revenue, for the consuming behaviors for our online users, as well as the demand for advertisement from our advertisement merchants, there will be some pressures because of the COVID, and therefore in the short term we expect to have some impact on the revenue in this regard. We will continue to keep a close eye on the impact of COVID on our business, and we will also ensure that we can provide very good debt guarantee and we could provide protections and great supports to our colleagues who are under the impact of lockdown measures.
Okay, that's it. We can have the next question.
Thank you. Your next question comes from the line of Brian Gong from Citi. Please ask your question.
谢谢管理层接受我的提问，我是花旗的 Katrina， 代替巴尔蒙问题的。请问管理层能帮我们评估一下刚刚5月新推出的这个对未成年人的保护的这个监管的影响，尤其是在那个排名还有 PK 那方面的功能的限制，还有另外就是我们对于未来在其他领域的政策有什么样的一个想法或者是期望？谢谢。Thanks management for taking my question. This is Katrina Chiu from Citi asking on behalf of Brian. Can management help assess the impact of the new regulation on minor protection rolled out in May, especially the restriction on ranking and PK those features, and also what's our expectation for further detailed policy on other areas ahead? Thank you.
好的，这个问题我来回答一下。那我们所在的行业在过去一段时间，的确是持续受到监管部门的一个紧密的关注。那最近政府部门也发布了关于规范网络直播打赏、加强未成年人保护的意见。那我们相信这样做的目的是为了更好的规范行业，促进行业的长期健康发展。
Thank you. I'll take your question. Our industry has been under scrutinizing of the regulators over the past period, and recently the regulators has released opinions on regulating tipping behaviors on live streamings and better protections for minors. And we believe that these changes are to better regulate the industry so as to make sure that it's long-term and sustainable growth in a more healthy way.
我们一直以来都在密切关注和遵循监管的相关指引。对于这次最新的意见，我们将严格遵循相关的要求和指导意见，在获取更多的实施细节后，按照要求严格落实。对于产品和运营方面可能需要做的一些调整，我们将尽快实施。 那这个变化可能会给我们财务和运营指标带来一些波动。目前我们仍然在评估具体的影响范围。我们认为这些可能的调整和变化对于我们平台用户的核心需求影响有限，那也会将动态的调整我们的运营和变现策略，以减轻对业务的影响。
We have been keeping a very close eye on the latest changes in terms of regulations and guidance. For these latest opinions on protecting the minors, we would make sure that we strictly abide by all the relevant regulations and guidance and earnestly implementing them after more operating details became available. We will have to make some adjustment in terms of our product and operations, and we will try to do that as soon as possible. This might mean some changes to our financial and operational metrics, and we are now evaluating the scale of the impact. We think that this possible changes and adjustment may have a very limited impact on the demand of the core users on our platform, and we would of course dynamically adjusting our operation and monetization policies so as to minimize the impact from such regulation changes.
此外，我们也会持续加强平台的合规能力，在相应的技术上加强投入，更好地适应监管的变化。那在合规的同时，我们也会持续投资于优质的内容，升级产品，保持公司的竞争力。
At the same time, we'll continue to enhance our capacity in complying with the regulations and make relevant investment in our technology so as to be more adjustable to the regulation changes. At the same time, we'll continue to invest in good quality content, upgrading our product, and keep our competitiveness in the market.
Okay, thank you. Let's have the next questions, please.
Thank you. Your next question comes from the line of Li Zhang from Bank of America. Please ask your question.
嗨，管理层晚上好，谢谢接受我的提问。我的问题主要是关于我们跟腾讯的这个合作方面，可以给我们就是提供一下最近的一些更新，还有我们跟一些项目组在做的一些新的 initiatives， 或者是说在这个新的监管和整个 macro 的大环境下，我们跟腾讯的合作有没有什么变化？谢谢，我自己翻译一下。Thanks management for taking my question. My question is mainly regarding our cooperation with Tencent and any updates in terms of the new initiatives amid the changing regulatory environment. Thank you.
好，我来回答一下，就是虎牙跟腾讯的合作，这个进行的这个挺好的。首先，我们跟腾讯在游戏和赛事方面继续保持这个紧密的合作，比如说在 Q1 和虎牙自制的这个 CFM 龙腾杯，对，我们就跟 CFM 游戏进行了联合大会员的合作，用户通过参与活动可以获得在虎牙和游戏内的一些特权，还有一些福利。对，一方面它增加了虎牙平台在游戏用户群体的曝光，同时也驱动用户在游戏内和直播平台双向的活跃，受到了用户的欢迎，效果也得到了游戏工作室的这个认可。
Thank you for your question. The cooperation between HUYA and Tencent are progressing very well. First of all, we keep a very close synergy relationship with Tencent in terms of games and tournaments. For instance, in the first quarter, in our self-produced CFM Longteng Cup, we have worked together with CFM Games for a joint membership. Users can participate in our activities and will be able to enjoy the privileges and benefits both on HUYA and in the game. On one hand, it increases the exposures of HUYA platform in the users, and also at the same time, they would become more active in both the game and live stream platform. And this feature become very popular amongst the users, and the result have been recognized by the game studio.
我们希望类似的合作这个后续能够持续的推广到更多的游戏上面，然后跟这个英雄联盟手游从产品、运营、社区，我们多方面也做了一些合作，在我们平台上面为用户带来了除了看直播内容之外更丰富的一些体验。目前HUYA在英雄联盟手游的直播市场稳定的领先。此外，由英雄联盟手游正式授权HUYA自制的这个战神杯已经举行了这个第2届。
We hope to expand such cooperation to more games, and we could have more synergetic activities in terms of LOL mobile, in terms of a product operation as well as communities, so that we'll be able to enrich the user experience for our users on top of the live streaming content. And right now, we are having a leading market share in terms of live streaming for LOL mobile. And at the same time, we had held 2 Janshen Cup for now, which is a self-produced tournament licensed officially by LOL mobile.
对，同时HUYA特有的一些这个互动直播的功能，比如说直播间调宝、游戏道具带货，也率先在腾讯的游戏赛事里面应用。比如在直播间调宝里面，在 Q1 已经应用到了超过20款游戏。我们算了一下，大概有超过1000万的用户参加过这个活动，其中王者荣耀、和平精英、CODM 这些游戏都取得了这个很好的效果。我们也计划将这些这个效果好的一些互动应用能够放到更多的游戏和品类里面去。
At the same time, HUYA had some very special interactive features, for instance, gift dropping or live streaming e-commerce that have been applied to games in Tencent. For instance, for the gift dropping, it has been applied to more than 20 games in Q1 with over 10 million active users. And for Honor of King, Peacekeeping Elite as well as the CODM, they've got very nice results so far. And we plan to apply those interactive features to more games and more categories.
对，作为一家这个技术驱动内容的公司，从21年以来，我们在推动互动直播功能上面和互动内容的拓展上面，也取得了一些这个初步的效果。HUYA的内容矩阵可以满足用户看游戏前和看游戏后的需求，对，有助于游戏的这个推广和留存。而我们也将进一步通过这个直播互动以及社区这些功能，能够沉淀这个玩家这个群体，更好的串联起我们的用户、主播、这个游戏厂商，希望能够在游戏产业链里面起到更重要的作用。
As a company that produced content by, that produced technology-driven content, since 2021, we have been making some very nice progress in having these interactive features and also to generate some interactive content. Our content metrics are able to cater for the needs for the users both before and after the gameplay, and that is positive for the promotion of games as well as retention of players and users. We will continue to do it by giving more interactions on the live streaming and having some more active community features so as to retain our users and to have better connections of our users, live streamers, as well as game studios and players so as to play a bigger role in the entire industry of game.
Okay, thank you. Let's have the next questions, please.
Thank you. Your next question comes from the line of Richie Sun from HSBC. Please ask your question.
晚上好，管理层，谢谢你们接受我的提问。我首先想问一下，最近你们的竞争对手有一些在改变内容策略，或者是甚至是退出这个市场。我们在这个新的竞争格局之下，我们应该怎么想长期的这个净利润率的一个目标？ 然后第二个问题就想问一下，今年我们对于人手还有就是3个费用就是研发营销还有管理费用的这个控制的这个策略会是怎么样？Thank you, management, for taking my questions. So first of all, is as we notice, some of your competitors are changing their content strategies or even exit the business. So how should we think about the long-term adjusted net margin profile under this new competitive landscape? And secondly, how should we think about the head count and also budget allocation plans across R&D, sales and marketing, and G&A expenses for this year? Thank you.
我先补充一下，对，大家看到行业里面有一些竞争对手可能在这个策略上有了一些调整。我们从虎牙维度来看的话，我们整体是认为这个对虎牙本身这个应该是比较好的，因为我们整体认为就是说整个行业的竞争肯定这个相对来说会比以前要缓和一点。
Thank you for your question. We noticed the strategic change by our competitor, and from HUYA's point of view, we think that is a positive trend for us as this will alleviate the competition landscape.
好的，其他的成本费用方面的问题，那我来回答一下。那基于目前的这个经营环境以及公司的一些情况，那我们会对成本费用会做更加严格的一些控制，持续优化公司的一个运营效率。整体来说，公司对于优质内容和产品的投入仍然是很必要的，因为这个是有利于持续服务好我们的用户，并且巩固虎牙的竞争地位。
Given where we are right now in HUYA Inc., we will continue to have more stringent control over our cost and expenses and optimize our operating efficiencies. Overall speaking, it is necessary to continue to invest in high-quality content and product because that is positive to make sure that we will continue to serve our users well and to consolidate our leading position in the competition.
在主播分成方面，近期的这个市场格局跟之前来说没有太大的变化。那综合我们平台的运营和变现能力，我们认为目前虎牙为主播提供的分成比例是比较有竞争力的。因此看来，目前将会延续现有的一些分层策略。
In terms of revenue sharing fees with the live streamers, recently the market layout does not change a lot. So given our operation and monetization capabilities on HUYA, we think that the current regime for revenue sharing is competitive, and therefore we will keep that the way unchanged.
在版权和自制内容方面，我们会对各项内容的 ROI 进行更有针对性的分析，把资源投入到更加有效果的内容方面，并且会视市场的情况及时进行调整。比如说在 Q1， 我们在版权赛事和自制内容方面的投入，比之前有更加严格的筛选。
In terms of licensed product and self-produced product, we will have more detailed analysis as to the ROIs of different kind of content, and we will allocate our resources to more effective content and make adjustment according to the market dynamic. For instance, in Q1, we have made a more selective approach in investing in licensed tournaments and self-produced content.
同时我们会持续加强带宽技术的优化，提升带宽的使用效率，以及在比如说市场推广费上面这些运营费用上做更多的优化。那人员相关的成本和费用也会做更加严格的控制。
At the same time, we'll continue to optimize our technology on the bandwidth and make it more efficient. And we would also make more optimizations in terms of sales and marketing and other operating expenses, and to have more stringent control in terms of labor costs and other expenses.
此外，我们之前有提到的对于近期海外业务的一些调整，也是优化成本费用的其中一项举措。
We had also mentioned that we are making some strategic adjustment to our overseas business, which in a way constitute as the method to control our cost.
利润率方面，从短期来看，由于本季度的业务方面的一些调整，可能会产生一些一次性的成本和费用，造成利润率的波动。综合全年的投入和收入变化的趋势，我们目前预期2022年内容成本占收入比例较21年全年会略有所升高，因此全年的毛利率会受到一定的影响。受到毛利率降低的影响，运营利润率相较21年预计可能也会有所降低。当然，我们将会持续优化成本和提升运营效率，为未来可能的业务发展打好基础。
In terms of the margin for the short term, because of business adjustment for the quarter, there might be some non-recurring expenses and costs for the quarter, and that would send some turbulences to our margin level. However, if you look at the entire trajectory for the whole year in terms of investment and revenue, we expect that the content cost as a percentage to revenue in 2022 will be slightly higher than 2021, and therefore the overall gross margin rate for the whole year might be affected. And due to that, we believe that operating margin in 2022 versus 2021 will be slightly lower. But of course, we will continue our effort in optimizing our cost and operation efficiency so as to lay down a good foundation for our long-term development.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you. As there are no further questions now, I'd like to turn the call back over to the company for closing remarks.
Thank you once again for joining us today. If you have further questions, please feel free to contact HUYA's Investor Relations through the contact information provided on our website or the TPG Investor Relations. Thank you.
This concludes this conference call. You may now disconnect your line. Thank you.